Hey guys, back again. Um, Feeling much better now that I've had my breakfast. Um, yeah, it's really interesting. It's really interesting the way things work. Well, basically, God always has plans for us and ideas for us, and we don't always recognize them. And sometimes it takes us a while to figure out what He wants us to do. The more we stop and wait and sit and wait to know what He wants us to do, the more success and ease we'll have. Um, I need that message myself. But I'm going to go ahead and get into what I planned on talking about. Um, and that was just the time around being married, and this is going to be kind of tough, actually. Yeah, this is going to be tough for sure, but I do want to do it. I want to do it because I want to get it over with, basically. But just thinking here for a second. Um, whoa, buddy, whoa, Denise. Traffic, sudden stops. So we had our house, and we were living together as we were. We were living together before in our apartments too, of course, but living together in our house, and it just was like, okay, life is just supposed to be so great, you know, life's supposed to be so great, and um, unfortunately, it wasn't. It wasn't so great. You know what I mean? It wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't so great. It was hard and kind of confusing. Um, I started growing, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Yeah, but I'm just gonna say it the way I can, the best way I can, and I'll work through it. I started growing, and I started figuring things out, or started having feelings about things, having thoughts about things, having ideas about things, having beliefs about things, and just feeling like I started figuring some things out, I believe. And I was about 23 at this time. And yeah, I started figuring things out a little bit. And by figuring things out, I mean I started thinking about things. I became aware of the Joe Rogan podcast. I started listening to Joe Rogan a little bit. I was very interested in a lot of the things he was talking about, and different things, different ideas, and certain things I'm not going to talk about, but I definitely did get interested in certain things, certain concepts, and so yeah, and so another thing was when we moved into our house, we had a little computer room, an office room off to the side, and it kind of became my room. Like I had my desk up in there, and I had my bookshelf with my movies and CDs, and then I had, you know, my computer and ended up getting a PS4, and that was kind of like a turning point in a lot of ways because it was something we really couldn't afford, but it's something that I did really want, and my wife was basically like, well, since you've got to have it, you know, I guess let's just go ahead and get it. It's ridiculous that we're spending this money, and this is stupid, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Let's just go ahead and do it, since that's what you really want, since you have to have it, you know. And it sounds like a pretty normal wife, right? Maybe. Maybe. um, and so I ended up getting my PS4, set that up in there too. I ended up getting a cheap TV. I remember being at this phase where I just felt like, you know, I wanted to do things, and I just felt like I would see something and I'd be like, oh wow, that seems like a good idea. Um, that's not too bad at all. That's actually pretty awesome. I'm just going to go ahead. I think we should do this. And so I would go ahead and do it. One of those things was buying a small TV. I bought this little LG flat screen TV for the computer room to put next to the computer because I wanted to be able to play in there. And that kind of became its own thing. And I don't know. Anyway, what I'm getting at here is ultimately, there's a lot of things to think about. It gives me a lot of thoughts, actually. I haven't really thought about these things. Haven't really thought about these things, honestly. Unfortunately, it really makes you think. But we started kind of growing apart, and whose fault that was, I don't know if it's a matter of like whose fault. Maybe it was my fault. But I'm not gonna get into faults, okay? I'm not gonna do that. I'm just talking about we started growing apart, and I spend a lot of time in that room playing Call of Duty, or watching YouTube, or doing something on the computer with music or something like that, or playing guitar a little bit, doing my thing basically, whatever that was, having fun, doing my thing, entertaining myself basically. And she would be doing her thing, but she'd be doing her thing in the living room. And then involved watching TV. And a dynamic started to emerge where we didn't necessarily feel that close anymore. And it's crazy because this kind of thing exists in so many relationships. And I think that they just work it out somehow. Something happens, they figure things out. They work things out somehow. Or they don't, unfortunately, and things end. But so this is going on, and I noticed it. I felt way more comfortable in my room than I did in the living room. And I did not really feel that comfortable in the living room at all. There's a lot of things I just didn't feel comfortable with or about. I just started feeling kind of uncomfortable in the house. And I don't know how she felt in the house, how she felt like living there and all, and this is our house now and everything. I don't know how she felt. I assume she felt, I thought she felt good. I thought she felt good because here we are, we have this new house and everything, and this is an upgrade. Bless me. Excuse me. And, but it's interesting. There's a lot of things I guess we didn't talk about. And that's kind of eye-opening to me right now. But, yeah, I just remember feeling distant from her, feeling far from her. And I did remember annoying her a lot. Not intentionally, but I remember her being annoyed with me, or frustrated with me, or upset with me, or unhappy with me, or whatever, and I felt really stressed, and this was not a new theme. This did not emerge out of moving into this house. This was something that had been going on already, and this is something that had been going on already, and it was just the struggle. It was the struggle of I wanted to have fun. I needed to have fun, and I had a really hard time figuring out how to have fun, right? I wasn't a drinker. I didn't go out with the guys. There were no guys to go out with. I didn't have guys to go out with. I didn't have friends like that, really. I had like one or two friends. Anyway, I don't know. I struggled because I wanted to have fun. I needed some kind of release from the stress. I needed some kind of release or some kind of relief. And I really had a hard time finding that. I did. I really did have a hard time finding that. And let's see. So I would do stuff with her cousin, who became my buddy. He was much younger than me, but we got along. We would ride bikes. We would make videos, stupid videos you can call them. I feel it's sad, but it's kind of a default thing to call them stupid videos. I mean, I guess it makes you feel mature if you call something stupid. But we basically just did stuff to have fun. We were we were kids in certain ways, I guess. But at the same time, it was just like, I don't know. So I get her frustration because she felt like I was being immature, and she felt like I was doing things I shouldn't be doing at my age, like hanging out with her young cousin and going riding bikes or whatever. Because she felt like she saw this immaturity in me that she wanted to grow up. She wanted it to grow up, you know. But for me, it was like, dude, I need a freaking break. Like, I need a break. Like, can I have a break? Can I take a break from this life? Like, is there a way to have fun? Am I allowed to have fun? Can I not have fun? Can I not ever have fun? Like, that's a real question. And that's a scary and that's a serious question. I mean, if you have to ask that question, that's a pretty crazy thing. Because I felt like everything I did to have fun, I felt like I would get in trouble if I had fun. And so that created this dynamic of, well, if you have fun, you are being bad. If you are happy, that is bad. And see this unhealthy dynamic? See how unhealthy that is? That's a freaking nightmare dynamic. That's a horrible dynamic. And so I was kind of dealing with that a bit, and it followed us along and accompanied us. I remember she had this friend, right? She had this friend at her job or whatever, and she was our age. She was maybe a couple years, I don't know, she was our age. She was literally a couple years, maybe a year or two younger or a year or two older. She was literally our age, like the same age as us, like plus or minus 1 year. And she was getting married to this dude. And I had feelings all about it. I mean, everybody had feelings about everything out there. But I had feelings about it, and I was like, basically on a base level, like, this is your friend, okay, well, yeah, let's go to their wedding, I guess, you know. I don't really want to, but sure, let's do that, you know. Let's go ahead and do it, you know. But then on other levels, I'm like, there's kind of some iffiness with this dude. What is this dude? Who is this dude? He's kind of seems like has the potential to be kind of a jerk. I was going to say kind of an a-hole, kind of a jerk. They did end up breaking up, though, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. And he was kind of a jerk. He was a jerk, basically. But I just remember this weird dynamic of the people around us and what they were going through and what was going on for them, and how I feel like we had to kind of maintain this standard or something like that. Like, we had to be a certain way. And ultimately, that just kind of sucked, right? That's lame. You have to live up to somebody's expectations. That's lame. You have to fit into some kind of social class or whatever. You have to fit into some kind of mold. Like, I always have felt that was lame. That's just been who I am. I've just always felt that that's lame. Like, why do you have to be a certain way? Just be yourself, right? Duh. But I get that. There's expectations and things like that. And you want to fit in, and you want to be normal, and you want to feel like the people around you who are your same age and all this kind of stuff. But there were a lot of different dynamics that were tough going on in my relationship. And all in all, I'm making it sound a lot worse than it was. Things actually weren't so bad. Like, we got along. We had a lot of fun. We enjoyed. I dare say we enjoyed life. But I mean, we did enjoy life. But there were just also other times where it was just like, it was really hard, and like, so there's this back and forth of like these really hard times and then also these good times. But ultimately, I felt like I was becoming more honest as the days went by, and that's a good thing, because I really needed to be. I needed to find my voice. I needed to find myself. I needed to find my identity. I needed to figure out how I felt and then do something about it. And I did do something about it. But what I'm saying is, there were a lot of struggles, but we did also have fun. And there was also just, again, there was this dynamic of like, just wanting to have fun and then not really being able to. And I get that. I mean, I'm not an idiot here. You don't need to explain to me about like how growing up means maturing, and now taking responsibility means this or that or whatever. Because I know those things. I knew those things. I knew those things, but I don't know. I was just pretty unhappy or uncomfortable or something like that. Frustrated. And so, like I said, we had this kind of weird dynamic going on in our house. And things just kind of feel like whatever. Like I said, things were supposed to be so much better because now I wasn't working night shift anymore. I'd gone to the day shift finally again, which was like I was like, that was kind of weird though, because I felt like I was leaving my friends at night to work during the day. So I felt like I was kind of becoming the straight-laced type where I needed to do things a certain way. Less of an individual, less unique. And so she went through this thing. She went through this like camp, let's call it. It was not a competition. I guess it was kind of a competition too, but it was this event. And at the time, the biggest loser was a big TV show, and everyone was about losing weight and everything like that as a competition and as self-improvement. And well, they had one in our city, and it was a big thing, and it was its own thing. But she did it, and she ended up losing a lot of weight, which was really awesome because she was overweight, and it was always a little hard. This is gonna sound so vain, but it was always a little hard because I always felt like, I don't know, I didn't struggle with my weight, and I know that some people do and some people don't. And I don't know. I guess I always wished that she like took better care of herself or something like that, And that's a realistic thing to want or wish, because you want them to be happy, you want them to be healthy and everything like that. And you want to be attracted to them more, things like that. But yeah, so she went through this thing, and it was this whole big deal. It was weird because I felt like I kind of felt a little funny because I felt like this is getting complicated here, but I already felt like I didn't get a lot of attention as it was, and now all the attention's on her, and now, oh my gosh, it's such a triumph. Oh my gosh, you should be so happy for her. You should be so proud of her, all this stuff like that, and everyone's like oogling over her and like so trying to be so like gushing with encouragement and everything. And that's great. Like, I appreciate that, and like that's wonderful, and yeah, like woohoo, like yeah, like go team, go team, right? But it also felt like oh my gosh, man, like I don't know, part of me was kind of like ugh, like cringe, shake my head. I don't know. This sounds terrible, I guess. Maybe it does. I don't know how it sounds. I'm not worried about how it sounds. I'm just more interested in the truth. But yeah, I did feel like that. I felt like that, and I was there for her. I was there at her side, and I was like, yeah, well, she's looking good. She's looking better, right? And to me, it was like, well, yeah, she lost weight, She lost some weight, and she looks better and everything, but like indicatively, it pointed to the fact that it didn't really matter. And that's really sad. But it didn't really matter because in the long run, it didn't really matter because I was frustrated. I was burned out in so many ways, from the job, from the living situation, from not having friends, from feeling isolated, from working an inhumane schedule, from everything. And way to make it all about me, right? Well, I'm sitting here talking about me. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about myself. But so yeah, so she goes through that, and it's like great. We're so happy for you. It's great. But then it was also like the feeling also was like, well, yeah, that's great, but like, how long is it gonna last? It's not gonna last. Like, and I hate to be so negative, but it was just like, well, this is how it felt, and it was almost like a surety. It was almost like, well, I know it's not gonna last, So this is great, and I sound so negative or so bitter or whatever, but I'm just being realist. I'm just being honest here. It literally felt like, well, that's great and everything, but like, what about when it doesn't work? Right? What about when she goes back to it? What about when she puts all the weight back on? Like, what about, and at the time, because see, here's the thing, at the time I had no presence of mind about like the things she had been through, the emotional weight, the emotional baggage she carried, the different things that she dealt with. And some things are health, they're just purely health related, in that you have this condition and there's not much you can do about it. It's just a condition that you have, and it's kind of your thing to deal with. But other times we have things going on in our lives that contribute to problems, health issues, emotional things that lead to other things. And so I didn't really know. I know now that she had a lot of things that she wasn't dealing with, that she was dealing with in an unhealthy way, and she didn't ever know how to deal with them in a healthy way. And it had a lot to do with the dynamic of her parents and the divorce that their parents went through, and seeing that and not having a stability in her life of her parents, and what to do about that, and how to deal with that, and who to be, how to care for herself, and how to be herself, while blaming herself, dealing with the blame of herself for her parents' divorce, etc., etc. And I can relate. I dealt with that a lot. I had my own version of that, basically. I had a different version, but it was similar. And, very similar. So there's that. And, so I didn't really know all that. I guess I did maybe in certain ways, but I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't feel like I could do anything about it, like there was anything to do about it. So I just felt like, well, this is just the way it is, And so, I was happy for her. I was excited for her. I was thankful and everything. But I guess I liked keeping a low profile because I didn't like a lot of attention, because it would just shine light on my issues and bring them to light. And I didn't want to bring my issues to light because it hurt too much. I didn't want to talk about what I was going through because it hurt too much, and I didn't know how to. It was extremely confusing, the whole thought of doing that. Too confusing to figure out. And I never really opened up to anyone about these things or talked to anyone. Didn't talk to my dad about them, didn't talk to my mom about them, didn't talk to anyone about them really. Just kind of dealt with them in silence, basically. And all of that. And so I'm gonna go this way. And so it was just kind of crazy. And so things were getting kind of stale. There's a really loud truck next to me. Things were getting really stale in our relationship, and really kind of lame, unfortunately. And I just felt kind of like, I don't want to say hopeless, but I felt kind of like removed. In a lot of ways, I felt kind of what's the word? Felt kind of neutral is not necessarily the word, but just like indifferent, I guess, numb, empty. I felt just kind of like, okay, well, what? What then? Okay, then, okay, well, this is going on, okay, what do you want me to do about it? Or, didn't get to that point, really, but it was like, well, okay, I guess, okay. And I wasn't really, like, smart alecky or, like, angry or anything like that, like, in my way of my actions, but I did have a bright and optimistic side that started coming out more, which I'd already had. I'd kind of always had. I just had that brightness of hope, basically. And it started coming out too and I started feeling like I did, like I said, I started getting the Joe Rogan podcast and different things. And I started to, like I said, I started to get into things. I started to feel like I had interests in things. And I started to, I mean, of course I love the Capitals. Of course I like hockey. That was a given. But the thing is I kind of felt, I guess over time, I kind of felt like the things that I liked were not as important to me, were not as important to her as the things that she liked. And I felt like I kind of had to have so much love and support for her and for the things that she liked, but I didn't necessarily feel that I had all this love and support for the things that I liked. And maybe because it's what they were, maybe it's because, again, she felt like I was being immature or this or that. But again, this dynamic, this is a different dynamic, I guess, similar, but this dynamic appeared that was like, well, I'm allowed to do what I want to do, but I always have to pay a price for it. And you're allowed to do whatever you want to do. And we kind of all just have to go along with it and just like enjoy it, because it's right. It's what you're supposed to do, or it's what is right, and it's what you think is right. And so it was really unfortunate because I felt like I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. I couldn't have fun, for example. And I felt like everything that she wanted was lame and boring and unexciting and unfun. And the things that she wanted to do, I didn't want to do. The things that I wanted to do, she didn't want to do. It didn't feel like she had any capacity to like have fun. It didn't feel like she had any capacity to enjoy things. And I think it kind of went the same way for her. She kind of probably felt the same way about me in a lot of ways, because I was so unenthused about the things that she wanted to do. So we started getting to this point. And I just remember feeling her being really frustrated. And we had a couple moments. We did have a couple fun moments or whatever. But like, case in point, there was this big shopping mall, and there was a roundabout, one of those big circles that you drive through. And I was driving me, her, and her two cousins, maybe three, two of them at least. And we go into the shopping mall and going around the roundabout, and I start going around it, and I keep going around it and going around it. And like, it was funny. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. It was a funny thing to do. It was a great thing to do. It was the right thing to do. It was called fun. It was called joy. It was called unpredictability. It was called all these things. But it also involved uncertainty, and it also could be considered immature. And so while everyone else was laughing and having a good time, she was not. And she was kind of just like, well, really? Seriously? Like, really? Like, why are you doing this? Like, so immature, basically. Like, she laughed a little bit at first and everything, but then she, like, had to break out of it and be, like, super mature and be like, well, can you please just stop? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And instead of ever asking me or telling me, like, can you please not do that? That really hurts my feelings, or this really upsets me, or this really frustrates me, or anything like that. She would kind of always tell me things. She'd always get me to stop doing things through her feelings. So she wouldn't communicate with me through words. She would communicate with me through feelings, including looks and things like that. So I had to do those things. I had to acquiesce that way. I had to do things that way. I had to deal with things that way. So she would give me a look, and then I would know that she's not happy with me. And if she wasn't happy with me, then I knew that I was not going to be happy. I knew that I needed to change. I knew that I had to do things differently. because she wasn't happy with me, you know? And so this is just this dynamic, right? And this is so normal, unfortunately, for a lot of relationships where the girl just looks at the guy and is just like, seriously? Like, she's like, seriously? Seriously? And her aunt was like that a lot, and we called her a bitch. We thought she was a bitch. And she struggled with her a lot, and unfortunately I think some of that behavior wore off on her, and she kind of became like that a little bit, which is really sad and unfortunate, because she was supposed to be the cool one. My wife, she was supposed to be the cool one. She was always supposed to be, like, to me, she was always cool. Like, it's like, what the heck? Like, what is there to worry about? We're having fun. We're having an awesome time. We're living our lives. This is wonderful, isn't it? Isn't this what we want? This is amazing, isn't it? Isn't this wonderful? Aren't you happy? And it was basically like, well, no, I'm not happy. And I'm like, well, what the heck? Like, how, what do you want to do? Like, how do you want to... And we never really had these conversations, but this was the unsaid conversation. And it was, well, what do you need? Like, what do you want to do? And again, I never said these things. And again, she never verbally answered them. But it would be like through the silence, I would be saying, okay, what do you want to do? Okay, what should we do? And I'm kind of confused and I don't really know what we should do. And she's kind of just like, and she silently would say, I don't know what we should do. I don't know. And I didn't know what to do about that. So I was just like, well, kind of at a standstill, like, well, like, I don't know. And so it was just, and again, this is a silent dynamic. These things were said. These things were not said. These things were silent. I'm just trying to explain feelings here, but putting words to feelings. But yeah, so it's sad because we both had things going on. I'm really thankful to work through this right now because I needed to do this so badly. It's really helping a lot, seriously. Never really done this before. But yeah, it was sad. She had her things going on. I had my things going on. I didn't know. We never thought about therapy. If we thought about therapy, it was like, oh my gosh, you need to go to therapy. Wow, what's going on? We hear that from, that we could already hear other people's, in our thoughts, we could already hear people saying things. Whoa, you hear they're going to therapy? They're having trouble with their marriage? What's going on, And we couldn't even bear that. We couldn't even deal with that. We couldn't even deal with the thought of other people saying things. That's how eggshelly we were, basically. It was like we're just on eggshells, just having to deal with things, just having to do things, deal with things. And not deal with things, because things weren't being dealt with. They were just being dealt with, I guess. Like, they were just being suffered, basically. And so, yeah, things got really hard, and I started feeling like I started finding joy in things. I started finding excitement in things. And I wanted to share that with her. I wanted to show her. I wanted to share this joy with her. But I guess part of me had given up because I felt like it was never going to translate. It was never going to bring her joy. It was never going to help her or wear off on her, so to speak, This bug. And, go on, bug. And, so in a lot of ways I had kind of given up out of frustration and just out of whatever. And felt really lonely. And then a lot of times I felt prisoner. I felt captive to whatever was going on. And it was really, really lame. And it was really, really oppressive. It was like I had to deal with her feelings all the time. And that sounds really bad. But what I'm saying is I had to deal with her feelings all the time. Like, I had to come home and I was perfectly fine and everything's great, and she's not happy, and she's in a bad mood, and she's upset, or she's frustrated, or she's this, or she's that, or this is happening, and grandma's coming over, and something's happening, and this person, that person's doing that, and this person, that person's doing this, and this is going on, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. And it was so hard to deal with again and again and again. It became a really unhappy, toxic kind of environment. And it did kind of come to a point towards the end where what I'm describing kind of happened, like, just a little bit. It happened long enough and often enough for it to get to this point. But towards the end, it started happening again, and I just remember being like, I remember leaving one day. I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, I didn't say that, but I was just like, I found a way to leave. I found I found an excuse to leave. I found an excuse to get out of there and just kind of do my own thing, and to get away from it, because I was like, I didn't want to be around it. I was like, this is really so toxic and so negative. I don't even want to be around it. I just can't even stand to be around it. So I left, and I didn't even do anything. I just went somewhere, and it was like, but by me doing that, when I did that, it was like, oh my gosh, actually, I just did something. I just did something huge, did something big or whatever. That's how it felt. And it was like a, oh, what's going on with Justin kind of thing. And it was like, well, I just need, I'm just really frustrated or whatever. And I was forced me to talk about my feelings a little bit, but I didn't really want to. I don't even know what I said, and I was just frustrated, and I was upset, and I was angry, and I was tired, and this stuff was happening again and again, and I was